Minecraft Bedrock and Minecraft Java editions both have very small and large parity differences. However, one thing they still have in common is that they both support custom resource packs, able to completely change how the game looks. So why is it that almost nothing about a resource pack on one version is compatible with the other? Well, today I'm showing you a tool that I have developed that should make resource packs compatible for both versions. Let's get into it. So firstly, let's take a look at how you actually get and download this software. So heading over to my website, TheAlienDoctor.com, which will be linked in the description, and clicking on the downloads button will take you to this page. You can then click apps and other software, Minecraft resource pack converter, and you should see a page that looks something like this. Here you can see the description, the changelog, and then also the legal stuff. We'll cover more of this later, but it's under the BSD3 clause new or revised license. Anyway, to download it, you're just going to want to click on this blue button. After this video has been released, I'll update this to have the video, so it'll be beneath the video. So if you click that, then you can save it wherever you want. I'm just going to save it in my downloads folder. Now you can see here that it's warned us that it's not commonly downloaded and may be dangerous. Later on in the video, I do have a malware disclaimer. However, this is essentially because not many people have downloaded this software yet. So Windows and most other antivirus software doesn't really know if it can trust it. However, I can promise you that this pack converter software is completely safe and malware free. I'll go into why I can promise you that later. So let's just click on this arrow and press keep. It might be different if you're using a different browser, but that's how you do it on Google Chrome. Anyway, opening up the folder where you actually have downloaded the pack converter now, we're going to right click it and press extract all and just extract to this folder. It will now have extracted you this folder right here. So this folder is how you'll access the actual program all the time. You're going to need to have easy access for this folder, so I'd recommend storing it somewhere that you can easily access, like on your desktop or something like that. I actually have a dedicated place for it on one of my disks. So there we go. I'm just going to store it in my program files on one of my SSDs. But you can obviously store it wherever, but basically just make sure that this folder is easy to access because you're going to need it. Anyway, opening up that folder, you should see 4 different files. You'll have the actual pack converter exe itself. You'll have some instructions, which you won't need because I'm showing you in this video, the license, and also the options file, which is basically just how you change settings. So opening the exe file, you'll be prompted with this Windows protected your PC. Once again, this is just because not many people have downloaded this software before, and also because obviously I'm not very well known. So, I'm not like some sort of big company that's pushed this out. It's literally just me. So, it's not really well known. However, I can promise you it is safe, and you can actually check out the malware disclaimer. There'll be a timestamp for it in the description. Anyway, once you open it up, you'll see this nice GUI that says Aliens Pack Converter, and this is essentially where you do all the pack converting stuff. This is essentially just the program, so it will convert Bedrock to Java and Java to Bedrock. Now, closing out of that for a second, you'll see that it's actually created 2 new folders. First of all, an input folder, and secondly, a logs folder. So this logs folder will come in handy much later, but it basically will tell you everything is done. It will tell you when it was generated, when it was closed, and all of the things that the software has actually done. So all it's done is created the logging directory and the input directory for now, but you'll see later that when it converts a pack, it will have a lot more text in here tell you that it's converted it, but we'll see that later. So if you've finished with a log after opening the file, then you can just close it to save storage, because some of the logs can get quite big depending on how big the pack is that you're converting. So you can just delete this folder if you don't need it. However, do bear in mind that it will automatically re-download. So this is Alien just coming in here whilst editing this video to say that originally I was going to go through every single config option for this pack converter, but then the video would be a million years long. So I'm just going to briefly go through it now. So after you've got the pack downloaded, it will look something like this, but without these 2 folders, and you'll have this options.ini file. This can be opened in any text editor. I personally use Notepad++. So I'm not going to go into the details because most of the time you're not going to need to change any of these settings. They're mostly for debugging, to be completely honest. But you can see here all this stuff in green with the hashtags before it is basically comments. So this will just explain what each thing essentially does. The main thing to point out is we have this repeats here. This is how many times it will check for files that need to be converted. By default, it's at 2, and I'd recommend keeping it at 2. I mentioned this a little bit later in the video, so I thought I'd point that one out. The rest of it is pretty self-explanatory, and of course, we have these comments to tell you exactly what it's used for, and that sort of thing. So anyway, let's get back on with the video. So first of all, you're obviously going to need a resource pack that you want to convert. Now for today's example, I'm going to be using the bare bones texture pack, which is available to download from MCPEDL. The reason I'm using this one is because it's almost entirely modifying the textures and not any JSON files. I'll get into this in the limitations section of this video, but essentially all this pack can convert is textures, not JSON files or anything like that. So this pack will work perfectly on the actual pack converter. So anyway, I'm just gonna go through the download process real quickly. And of course, this is a Bedrock pack, so I'm going to show you how to convert it to Java. If you want to convert Java to Bedrock, then you can just skip this part, but they're essentially the same process, to be honest. Okay then, so the pack has just finished downloading. So most Minecraft Bedrock Edition packs, or well, all of them really, should end in .mc pack. If you can't actually see file extensions, then I'd recommend clicking on View, Show, and then ticking file name extensions. I'm on Windows 11, so the UI is a little bit different if you're on Windows 10. However, it's essentially the same. So what you're going to need to do is actually get this pack and rename it to end in .zip, because .muck packs are essentially .zips. You can then extract it like a normal .zip. And because this pack is quite big, it's going to take some time. So we're just going to wait for that. And there we go. It's finally finished unzipping, so you should just have a folder now. So heading back over to the folder where we have the pack converter now, you're going to want to open the input folder and make sure it's empty. Then over here on the resource pack folder, you're going to need to open the resource pack folder, and you're going to need to open it until you see the manifest.json file essentially, and that should be surrounded by a ton of other files, including a pack icon, textures and text and all of that sort of thing. And what you're basically going to want to do is actually copy or cut all of these files and put them straight into the input folder. Now you need to make sure the pack files are at the root of the input folder, and that it's not the input folder and then another folder inside it. It must be input and then pack files, not input another folder then pack files. That's quite important. But there we go, our input folder should now be ready to rumble. So we're going to open back up the exe, and we of course want to use Bedrock to Java for today. So of course you can put in a custom pack name. I'm just going to call it Bare Bones Resource Pack, because that is technically the name of the pack. And then for the description, I'm just going to put the Bare Bones Resource Pack from Bedrock Edition by Robot Pants, because that is who made this on MCPEDL. Anyway, we're now going to hit the start conversion button, and this will, well, start the conversion. So it comes up with this prompt. It says, are you sure you want to start the conversion? This will delete everything inside this folder, so make sure you've removed any previous packs from it. Basically, if you've already done a pack conversion, then this folder will already exist because this is the first time you don't have it. However, it will basically delete any previous packs that you've already converted from the output folder. So make sure that you've already copied over and imported all of your previous packs. But we could just press OK, because that's absolutely fine. And the pack converter will in fact begin running. And if we open back up the folder where we have the pack converter, you can see there should now be a folder called Java Pack. And inside that, you'll have another folder called Pack. And it's basically now just running through and converting the pack for us. Now, currently, there's no way to tell that it's actually running. I'm going to implement some sort of loading bar or status soon, but it's taking some time and I wanted to release this sooner rather than later. So for now, there's no way to tell that it's running until it goes to this compressing stage where you'll see a loading bar for compressing the .zip folder. But anyway, now it's going to say conversion complete, and it will also tell you how many files it was able to convert to Java Edition, which in this case is 1,452. So you can just click on OK. And there we go. You can now close out of it, and you should now have a converted pack. So if we look in the Java pack folder, you can see here we've got the bare bones resource pack.zip. So because we have it as output as zip and output as pack enabled, we can also see the pack folder. So this is essentially the resource pack, or this is the resource pack. They're both the same, just one's a zip and one's a folder. So we want the zip because the zip is what Java Edition resource packs use. So we're going to cut this and put it into our Java Edition resource packs folder. So there we go. So now that Java Edition has loaded up, I'm just going to head into a world. We might as well load into this one. And there we go. We are now in the world. So heading into our resource packs, you can see here that we now have the bare bones resource pack. So this is the pack it converted. So let's enable this and see if it actually worked. And spoiler alert, it has worked. As you can see here, we now have the bare bones resource pack on Java Edition, despite the fact it was originally for Bedrock Edition. And just scrolling through the creative inventory, you can see that there are a whole lot of packs that were able to be converted. Or a whole lot of textures, sorry. So yes, this is good news. I'm not sure why, but I randomly decided to enable shaders and now the game looks even nicer. What on earth? Wow, this pack does look... There's something about this pack with shaders that does look really nice, isn't it? This is a really cool pack, the Bare Bones pack. I'll leave it in the description if you want to check it out. It's pretty cool. Oh, and I suppose if people ask, if you're wondering, the shaders I'm using is a complimentary reimagined. I'll leave a link to them in the description as well, because I'm sure there'll be at least one person that asks what shaders I'm using, because there always is. Anyway, now that we've successfully converted a Bedrock Edition pack over to Java Edition, it's time to do it the other way around and convert a Java Edition pack over to a Bedrock Edition. So I'm going to go and find a Java pack that I want on Bedrock. One moment, please. So for this example, I'm going to be using Vanilla BD Craft. It is only for 1.18, but that shouldn't matter. And I'm just going to use the 32x version, although it does support higher. So anyway, we're just going to go ahead and download this pack. Once it's finished downloading, if you head over to where it's downloaded and simply just click on extract. And of course, that will extract the actual pack out of the .zip like we did for the Bedrock Edition pack. And after it's finished extracting, if you open the folder, and you're going to need to make sure that you have all of these pack files, so the assets and the MC meta and all that jazz. If you click cut and then head over to where you have the pack converter folder and basically just paste all those files in the input folder like so. Okay, so there we go. It is now copied over. And you should just be able to open the actual pack converter now. And then we're going to click Java to Bedrock because this is a Java to Bedrock pack. And we're just going to put Vanilla BD Craft. And in the pack description, we're just going to put Vanilla BD Craft again. It doesn't really matter. Then you can hit Start Conversion. This will basically warn you about deleting all the previous packs that it's outputted. So just make sure that your output folder is clear before you press OK. And there we go. It's now going to begin running. Once again, there isn't any loading bar or anything like that, but in the future there will be. And yeah, it's just going to do its thing now. And then eventually it should come up with this, which is basically just it moving it to a .zip folder. And there we go. It's finished. It converted 1,196 files to Bedrock. So we can close this out now. And we now have a folder called Bedrock Pack, and that contains the Bedrock packet just converted. You can just double click that to open like any other Bedrock Edition resource pack, and it will open in Minecraft Bedrock. You may need to select it to open in normal Bedrock and not the preview though. And now it's going to begin importing. And there we go, successfully imported. Now what you can do is head over to settings and global resources. You're then going to want to head over to my packs, where you should see it somewhere near the top, imagine, and you can then click activate. So there we go, it's now in the active packs section. Now it's just going to load the pack, and let's load into a world and, well, see if it worked. And there we go, we are now in game. My skin is broken, but that is a bug with Bedrock Edition and not this pack converter. Let me fix that real quickly. You can see there my skin's just decided to disappear. So what version of my skin? Let's go for this one. All right, so now we're in the game, and you can see here that we have the Vanilla BD Craft has worked. It's now in our game. We've got all of these lovely textures, and yeah. The pack has been converted. Yay! I can't show it off in shaders like the last one though, because shaders on Bedrock don't exist very much. But there we go. Either way, we have successfully managed to convert absolutely tons of various different textures from Java Edition to Bedrock Edition now, which is great. Anywho, now that I've shown you how to convert Bedrock to Java and Java to Bedrock, it's time to get into the other parts of the informational bits and pieces of this video. I said that really weirdly. Basically, it's time to talk about all the other stuff that most people probably aren't going to watch and then complain about me in the comment section because they haven't watched it. So before you complain about something in the comment section, make sure to watch the next part of the video. So firstly, let's talk about the fact that this program or software is actually open source on GitHub. So when you have the pack converter open, if you click on the view source code, report bugs and contribute on GitHub, then it will open this page over here, which is its GitHub repository. So if you've never used this before, then you're probably not going to need to use this, but it's essentially where you can open source code and other people can view that code and contribute to the project. So the pack converter is in fact open source. This means if you want to, you could create a fork and then open a pull request to add in your changes to this if you wanted to. And obviously I'd have to accept your pull request if I want those changes to be added. But yeah, so if you do feel like contributing to this, then feel free to do that. It is primarily written in AutoIt. In fact, it's all written in AutoIt. The XML part here is just to do with the GUI file, which is also AutoIt in a way. If you know AutoIt, you'll know why. So likewise, reporting bugs on here, you can just do in the issues tab over here. And you can also like open questions and that sort of thing as well. In fact, now's probably a good time to apply a label to this thingy. There we go. But yeah, you can report bugs, open questions and things like that in here. Although if you have a question, I'd recommend asking it on my Discord server. That's probably the better place to be. Link in the description, but here is my Discord. Now here you can also find the unsupported textures list, which I'll talk about in a second. Whilst we're on GitHub, the other thing I want to show you is the credits. So I made this almost entirely myself. However, Snakehat did help me with quite a substantial part. So if we take a look at this file called conversions.au3, this contains basically the the Bedrock directory is first and then the Java directory. Most of this list was actually automatically generated, and it was generated using a script that Snakehat made in C#, as that says here. He also helped me a little bit with the actual concept of how to improve the efficiency and also how to basically not rewrite if statements over 1,000 times, essentially. And you can check out his YouTube channel here, which I would recommend doing. I'll of course leave his YouTube channel in the description down below. Likewise, if you do want to sponsor or support this project, then I do have my Patreon open as well. And so maybe consider checking that out if you really like this project or something. But of course, you do not have to. Please do not feel that you have to subscribe on Patreon or anything like that, because I am just happy for you watching the video and using this software, basically. Anywho, now let's talk about the license real quickly. So it's licensed under the BSD3 clause new or revised license, and this essentially gives you permissions for all of these things with these limitations, and has the conditions of the copyright notice. What this means is if you did decide to distribute this somewhere else or modify it or really do anything that it says here, then you must have the original license, which is right here, and also apply the copyright notice, which is, well, copyrighted to me. So that's essentially sort of like saying giving credit, except for it's credit that looks fancy is essentially what I'm after. So So yes, if you do decide that you wish to use this code somewhere else, then that is completely fine, but make sure that you include the copyright notice to me. So heading over to a website called virustotal.com and actually uploading the pack converter exe to it, you will see here that there are a couple of warnings for some stuff on this pack converter. So I believe this means that things like Avast and ClamAV and basically all of these actual antiviruses will actually detect it as malware. Likewise, it has some other stuff over here. So if you are going on into this, and especially if you don't understand a great deal about what this means, then you may think at first that this has an actual malware inside it, or it's a virus, or that it's bad. I can promise you right now that it is not bad. First of all, as I've already mentioned, this is actually open source. I've actually put a comment on the VirusTotal page as well saying, hey, as the creator of this, I would just like to say this project is open source and does not contain any malware, thanks. So this does not contain any malware, and it's open source, which means you can view all of these files. And if you really don't trust the compiled version, if you don't trust that I have changed something in compiling it, then you can compile it yourself as well. That's completely fine. Now, as I've already mentioned in this video, the pack converter is actually coded in a programming language called AutoIt. Now, you can see here on the autoitscript.com forums, or wiki, I guess this is, there is a AutoIt and malware. Essentially what it's saying is that, and there is a forum post on here as well, which kind of explains it a little bit better, but 99% of auto-it scripts, when they're compiled as an exe, will get marked or flagged as malicious on most antivirus software. We're not really sure why. Well, it doesn't really seem anybody's 100% sure why. I'm guessing it's because it's not a really well-known programming language, and there was probably like one piece of malware that sort of caused it to trigger. However, you know, it is completely safe. It's open source, as I say, and you can even compile it as yourself if you really wanted to. I'll add compiling instructions on here later. So in terms of actual limitations for this software, it does have a couple of limitations, as with most software like this. Obviously, we can't 100% convert every single pack out there from one version to the other, because every pack is so different. So by a general rule of thumb, basically any pack that contains modified JSON files or any other files like that will not be able to get converted. The only things that currently can get converted are the PNG texture files. However, in the future, we'll also work on converting the Bedrock TGA files to PNGs so they can be used on Java Edition and vice versa as well. We also have a list of some textures, although I'm not sure if this is complete anymore, which cannot be converted either. However, of course, this project, now that it's out there, hopefully it will gain a little bit more traction, and well, we'll hopefully have some big brain people coming in and helping me actually, you know, make it be able to convert all of these other different types of files as well, like the TGA stuff, and I think it's unlikely, but maybe even the JSON files. So yes, if you do know how to do that, then feel free to maybe message me on Discord, or even just straight up contribute to the project. And of course, we're always adding in new textures as well, but I would estimate it's able to convert 95% of the actual texture files, not including JSON or things like that. So, you know, I'd say that's pretty good, at least for a basic start. It would certainly help a pack creator quite a lot if they wanted to create a pack that works on both Bedrock and Java. So anyway, that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, please do ask them in the comments section down below. And if you are finding issues running this software or anything like that, then feel free to join my Discord server linked below, because we have myself and others on there that will be able to help you use this software. There are a lot of big brain people on my Discord, and also a bread cult, but we're not going to get into the details of that in today's video. But anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe today to join the Alien Empire for more Minecraft Bedrock Edition content like this. I'll see you in the next video coming very, very soon. Thanks to my supporters. Bye.